to a trip through the Bulldog Baths. I'm Clark Taylor, and this is Glenn Gerber.
Hello, Clark.
Hi, Glenn. Hi. We were just wondering what the Bulldog was like when you first went over to...
Oh, back in 1979, we bought the building. It was a 20-year-old bathhouse that just needed to be refurbished completely. It, showing age, needed new decoration, new paint, new lights, and just be brought to date.
Was it a leather type bathhouse when you bought it?
No, it was a very mixed mash of the gay community. There was evidence that there was leather here at one period of time in its history. In fact, there was this one cage we have in the back room right now was in the basement, was not being used at that time. Pedestal type cage. So there was obviously some activity of that nature here before.
Well, shall we walk up the stairs?
Welcome to the Bulldog.
Right here. This entrance is a little bit unique to bathhouses.
Well, it was grand in its day. When the place was started in the 50s, it was the first bathhouse in the country. Some major movies were made here, and they spent a lot of money and did it in a very fine way. Marble on the stairs and marble on the sides indicate that. We added the traffic light feature in the building. We have a couple of them around, and it meant several things: stop, caution, and green for go. And everybody was tuned in to a good time when they came here, when we operated it as the Bulldog Baths. So come right on into the entrance area.
When you got into these stairs in the 50s, you were safe from the street people. How was it when you were here?
Well, that didn't change from the time that we took it over in 79. It was just as bad from that standpoint. That's a major reason why we discontinued operation here. The street people made too much trouble for customers and employees alike. We were just afraid somebody would get hurt, and we felt that we didn't want to be responsible for that. Our list of facilities, what you were able to use while you were here, we're very strict on no booze, drugs, and candles in the building because we felt that people should be safe when they're in here.
And how would a person be checked in here?
Over here, yes.
Okay. So we have a checker inner. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Bulldog. Here's your money for the sidewalk.
You present your coupon, your membership card for identification, and request any of the facilities that we had available.
We'll get you a towel real soon.
Oh, thank you. This is a $2 fuck night. And here's the slave auction. Well, we're in the right place. I'm in the mood to have a few around the house.
We also had a sling room available. We had several sling rooms in the building.
How did you come to name it the Bulldog?
Well, we went through several series of name selections. One we felt that would project, the name that would project what we wanted to do in the bathhouse was the Bulldog. There's a bar in Atlanta, Georgia called the Bulldog Trucking Company, and it's a very marginal bar. So we felt that we wanted to borrow that name and bring it here to San Francisco, and that's how it came to be called Bulldog Country, as the map indicates here. Once you're in the door, first thing you see is this big, massive truck shining in your face, speeding down this highway that we painted to make it look like a highway with double yellow lines. The truck also served as a DJ booth for a live DJ.
I've never seen anything like this in a bathhouse.
We bought 2 trucks in a junkyard for $1,000, and I paid him with a cashier's check. And I told them that I wanted them to do some cutting on it for me because they needed to haul it away, and they thought that was fine. So I took a marking pencil and I marked them all up, and we cut them into about 5 or 6 pieces. At that point in time, they almost refused to take the cashier's check, thinking something was wrong with me. So finally they agreed to do it. They cut it up and delivered it on a flatbed truck, semi-truck. The street people saw them bringing all this junk truck stuff in here, wheels, axles, bumpers, and things. Everything else windshield. And they said, well, what are you going to do in there? And I told them we're making a used truck parts store.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut it all up and brought it here, and then we had a welder come in and weld it all together again. And we had a body man come in and put it all up, and our artist painted it for us and put it back together to make it look like a real legitimate truck.
Yes. You were saying that the artist also painted buttons on the radiator, right?
Yeah, our artist is from New York City, and he did a lot of detail in the building was not cheap. It was expensive. His work in here was to the tune of $10,000. This is just a piece of cardboard that he tried to duplicate a radiator core of a truck. And he also painted on it bugs, butterflies, etc., etc., as you can see from taking a picture of it.
Was this the Club Turkish Baths? Is that the...
This is the original Club Turkish Baths neon sign that was out in front of the building when we purchased it in 1979. Been there for years, and so we thought we could use it and it would make a statement to the community that it was the original bath in the country. And we brought it in here and used it for subdued lighting in this section of the building. Instead of bright lights, we used it for lighting. It's interesting enough about the club, this was where the club bath chain got its name, the club. Right. And there's another local competitor by the name of Club Baths in town that borrowed that name also. This man did not register the name, so anybody could use it at that point in time. So that's how that turned out.
I see here really hunky guy sitting on that.
This is part of our pre-advertising opening program. We spent about $20,000 in projecting what the Bulldog was going to be, right from the standpoint of hiring a professional model out of New York City to do the modeling for us. And this was these photos were taken in a studio in Los Angeles. The truck costs us $500 a day just to use the truck. And it's a huge Mack truck.
I remember seeing him on a float advertising the Bulldog.
He was in one of the Gaelic parades about 4 years ago. His first name is Sam, and he wrote a book for us.
These murals, this is part of the murals that were painted at the beginning?
This is just one of the segments of murals that were painted by the artist from New York City. Great detail.
What's the artist's name?
Brooks Jones. You see it right here at the bottom?
Oh, Brooks Jones.
Brooks Jones, 1979 when he painted on it. We took him down to San Jose to a huge truck stop. He'd never seen a truck stop before, so he wanted to see what one looked like. And so he could recreate a truck stop scene. And as you see in the shadows of the background, you see all kind of trucks with their big bodies up, and grease cans down below, and tire wrenches and barrels of grease, etc., etc. And he projected this for us. This was the original locker room in here for the Club Turkish Baths. They kept it as it was. All truck stops have bathrooms that are very cruisy, and so in this truck stop there's a bathroom also. And this scene depicts a gentleman using the facility and another one cruising it. And also noticing the scene that you just shot just a moment ago. And as you notice here, look at his mirrored sunglasses. And you'll see in the mirrored sunglasses the reflection of this scene down here, if you get a close-up shot of that. You see that?
Yeah.
The little figures?
Yeah. It's like through the, like he's looking at the mirror that's behind.
So we're looking at his mirrored sunglasses, and that's reflecting the scene over there. That's a lot of detail.
It sure is. I noticed that he's also shaved his crotch, it looks like.
Apparently so. And a few other things.
Yeah.
Some of these paintings are self-portrait of Mr. Jones.
Well, that's very interesting, putting himself in the work. Are any of the other pictures of people that he knew, or
no?
Fantasy?
Just fantasies. This was the original locker room, and still a very nice locker room. Unlike most lockers in bathhouses nowadays, these even have hangers. Have coat hangers. We don't have hangers.
No wire coat hangers.
And yes, no wire coat hangers. Had a little coat hanger rack inside, and they're huge lockers. Very, very good.
They are.
Each had their own private little padlock. We also built 300 duplicate. We duplicated 300 of these, and they're in the basement, brand new, built out of wood, just like it. It's been about 400 lockers.
My word.
It's a big operation. We had these little blackboards around the building, and this was kind of a bulletin board for advertising whatever interest the patrons from all categories, whatever was what they were interested in. You could just simply list your room number and someone would surely come by and visit you. This is the artist, right to the fine detail of him being uncut. Do you notice that?
I'll be darned, yeah.
And that's what he looked like. He's also in the other portrait over there, the bearded man in front.
That's what I guessed, but I thought, well, I've seen that guy twice.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
Interesting painting, isn't it?
What kind of clientele did you have here, Glenn?
Well, when we started out, we were very selective in trying to build up the clientele that would be representative of the Bulldog and its image that we were trying to project in our advertising, in our murals throughout the building, and in the general atmosphere. That worked by and large for the most part. We did not discriminate. We allowed people to come in if they qualified. And so from that standpoint, as most things do in different neighborhoods of the city, this was not an easy neighborhood to deal with, the street people. A lot of the gay people who did start coming here wouldn't come back because of being accosted in the street by the street people and run into trouble with that. So it did change substantially from the beginning to the end of the operation.
The Tenderloin underwent quite a change, didn't it?
Substantial change.
From being more like lower Polk is now to being...
Yeah, we tried to change it. We put about 25 trees in the street and washed down the sidewalks a couple times a day, even in front of other the neighbors' stores and things, just to make it look better and clean it up. It's a battle that never ended. It's always necessary to be down in the street, patrolling the street and monitoring what the activity of the people are. It's difficult.
But I remember the old baths near the end was very interracial. Was that true here too, or?
That's pretty typical of what our operation was too. You're in a neighborhood where these people are living and dwell and where they spend time, and so consequently there was that activity. We would not let it become a flop house, so we would not let people come and stay hours at a time. We restricted their visit to 8 hours so that they would not be staying and using it for a flop house. The previous owner allowed them to stay 24 hours or longer at a time, and so consequently became a flop house. Thus it became dangerous, it became very drug orientated, and it was difficult for him to manage his business, so he just closed it down. So with certain simple rules, you can control that if you are inclined to do so.
I see up above there's the...
we had our own postcards. We made postcards and had them available for customers who came here to see the Bulldog baths. We had a complete lineup of facilities in the counter for people to purchase, from Crisco and rings right down to about anything anybody might want here. Even things that would accommodate sunbathing. We have sun deck. They could give things like lotion and things of that nature here too. We had maps for people too who wanted to get around town, visitors who had not been here before.
And the place for the dirty towels. Is this where you also check out?
Check out. You checked in on the outside as you came through. You checked out here, this section here. You bought your extra supplies there: combs, razors, shampoo, Tums for the tummy, even.
Well, shall we take a look at what some of the rooms are like?
All right, come down this way.
Oh, look at here. That is painted like...
all of the plastered beams in the building we painted to make it look like you were visiting under a bridge, like you would visit under the Golden Gate Bridge. Those are very cozy spots in some sections of the country. So we painted the plastered beams to look like they were steel beams, rivets, even put rust on them, and in some cases sprayed a substance to make it look like dirt. But under bridges is very dirty. And even little things like this that you see oftentimes under bridges.
You know, as we're going along, I'm thinking this must have taken a tremendous amount of time and thought and money to put it together.
There's a lot of detail in this. Each room has its own little stainless steel table. We painted little paintings on the walls in most of the rooms, and each room is named after a state license plate. And these are authentic from the state license plate directly around the country. That's provided by the federal government. And so each room has a number and a corresponding state and a color code to go with it too. You notice a little painting on the wall over here? Each room has some kind of a little painting on the wall. Maybe that's the way people are in Iowa, I don't know. Here's a room from Vermont. And check what's on the wall in this room. It's a painting of a hole in the wall. And look what's hanging through
glory
there.
hole. How fun. That's really...
Vermont. We all should go to Vermont, should we not?
Yes. I love these license plates. I thought they were real license plates when I first saw them.
They're little pieces of board that are painted, original colors. Come and check what Nevada has to offer in their room. Look on the wall there. Another painting.
That would take a long time just to paint each one.
And did take a long time.
But what was the length of time? A month, 2 months?
We
3
started construction in about May of 1979, and we were finished for opening late October. It took that long period of time.
Did you have an opening party?
Certainly did.
What was that like?
A big opening party.
Yes, you did. It was a CNC weekend.
Yes.
Yeah?
We had a lot of people here. Lined up to get in the street down the block, about $2.
If I remember correctly? Would you say?
What?
Some 800?
I suspect so.
Yeah.
This is one of the facilities in the building. We had it put together by a plumber, and as you notice, it has all the regulation controls on it so that water pressure is controlled and water temperature is controlled. So that it's a very safe thing to use. And some reasonable instructions here. We had available about a 30-inch hose that we sold to the patrons.
And they would stick it on
They
there.
would attach it to the little nipple right above the little stainless steel sink there and use that.
So they could mix the water.
They can mix the water, blend it, and the pressure and temperature was controlled from the valves above. Automatically.
And when was that? This is in 79?
79 we did that.
That is really something. So each one had their own hose.
And their own hose.
And
It was a clear plastic hose, and we bought it from a hardware store. They couldn't imagine what we're doing with so much hose. This is one of the two shower areas. We have about 10 showers in the building, and they're still in excellent condition, as you can see. We have a 1,000-gallon hot water heater in the building, and we were never out of hot water. This is one of the two steam rooms and dry saunas. This portion is the dry sauna, and the portion back in here is steam room. Interestingly enough, the design of the steam room was so new in its time, but it still is the type that people use. The ceiling is not a flat ceiling, so that when you sit in the steam room, hot water doesn't drip into your head or on your head. It runs down the walls behind you. A flat ceiling in the steam room, water drips on you all the time. So that was interesting way back when this was designed.
I'll say, I remember this steam room back in the 50s. Was a tremendously popular place to play sex.
We kept one steam room hot with a lot of steam and one not so warm in case that's what they wanted to do, to accommodate the patrons. This one also had music in it.
Back here, there's also a real nice
Shaving area, wash station, clean up, brush your teeth. We have two sections of the building, and then had cold water, ice water in here too.
Did you add this, or was this already here?
This here.
This here. Oh yeah, I remember it now.
And interestingly enough, most saunas have electric units that provide heat. This one runs off of a furnace, and these grills just have hot water going through them. They provide a very warm, moist room. Not steam, but just hot. Another steam with a bench in it.
This is really nice. These seats too, instead of being so slippery, you got texture.
The tile works very interesting in the building. There's a lot of money been spent on the tile work. This shower area has these little doors that open for a lot of air in it. I see the birds have made nests up in here. See that pressure outside? Go right in. Too nice.
I remember it used to be fun to stand out here in the drying area and watch the people showering and vice versa.
And take your time.
Yes.
Wear the towel out drying off.
Lots of romance.
But this was the back stairs here, and this was not used by the previous operation. But we put it together to use it to tie in the cell block area down below. So the flow of customers would be better, and it would be easier to cruise. So if you started following someone in the building, you could just plan on walking quite a distance. This is a long corridor here. And notice the beams up above as we go through here, because it's... and the license plates on the doors. This was a little private bunk area here. There was a lot of activity here.
Oh, yeah. See, it had certain advantages for walking by, too.
Chain link. Already puckered.
Yes. So, ready like a little rose blossom.
I think it's a receiving signal, don't you think?
I do. It says red, but it means green.
Turn the green lights on. This is a popular room.
Yeah.
We even had a fan above it. Sometimes sessions would go on so long they get too warm, especially in the summer.
Wow. Yeah, there's a fan.
And we allowed them to use a fan.
And a good-sized bed.
With a mirror above it.
But did all this come about at the same time, or would somebody say, hey, let's put a mirror up there, and hey, that's a great idea, we'll add that, or...
Those little additions like that mirror and the fan were evolved over the period of time. Customer requests. We try to accommodate.
I see there's also shutters so that people could...
This could be a private room, if you wanted it to be, or if you wanted an audience. You could just open the shutters, and it wasn't necessary that people would not come in because they had these little bars put here. Notice those shutters here. We built this ourselves, and we took off some ideas from some other places in town. This has a huge hole where you could just sit down in it if you wanted to.
You even crawl through.
And others had long poles. Instead of just a little round hole, it had a long hole that would accommodate different heights of people. And you had these handles up here where you could hold on. This is what's left of the 1950 bathhouse up here. This is this gilded ceiling.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Didn't quite fit, but it looked all right for us. Opening party was fantastic. It was a connection with one of the parades, and we had about 800 people.
Was that the parade where Big Mac was on the truck and passing out the silver...
The balloons.
The balloons.
We also had a lot of slave parties and celebrities that come to those slave parties. The best ones were when Al Parker came as an MC, and people just really loved seeing him. He's a very famous person, and his movies sell very rapidly.
What's a slave party?
Well, as a promotion, we would give out slave money. I might have some here handy. And simply what would happen is that when you come in, we would offer you some slave money in connection with your visit. And here's a denomination of $500. And you could use that then to purchase a slave on a later date. So that the slave auctions would come up once a month. And slaves then could be purchased with this play money. It wasn't anything that was illegal. It was just a promotion or in-house thing. And we also had master parties where slaves could purchase masters.
Oh,
it would be reverse roles with the same play money. So we even made it look like it was authentic to the backside here. You have the eagle, and you have the address and our truck. Do you see that?
Yeah.
The largest bath in the USA. Square footage, it was the largest bath in the USA. Frankly. One of the interesting things in this section of the building right here is this big mural on the wall here. And that has a lot of detail. If you look real close, you see even in the dark shadows, more bodies functioning up here. You see that, yes. These are bodies in action up here, and then the ones that are in light are down through here. But notice the detail. Here's a green jock strap, leather strap around the neck. The details on the bodies, the muscles indicate a lot of talent. Hard hat and even tattoos. You have boots and trousers, and down here are poppers and rings and Crisco, and here are the real poppers. And it depicts a orgy room scene. Here's the door to the orgy room, and the exit to go outside. You notice that? Here's a whole groupie operation here.
Elaborate.
And very, very elaborate and very dramatic. Even cock rings, black leather.
And glove.
Glove. Here's a chain.
He's got a Peterbilt
T-shirt on, absolutely. Another leather hat here. Here's a leather strap. More jock straps, and there's a popper container.
Yeah.
Here's a jacket, a military jacket. Here's lube. Someone is chained fast to the bed here. You see the padlock and the chain through there. Pair of underwear. Here's a 69 position.
What is it? What is this?
This is a bed.
A bed?
Steel bed. So you can still see it. Here's a nice painting here. See this T-shirt that has a pack of Marlboro cigarettes in it? You see how interesting that is?
I see the bulldog is getting some too.
Yeah, this is our little mascot. He's a little bulldog, and
Has an erection.
he's fucking an armpit. That's what he's
Somebody's looked at dogs. What do they look like?
bestiality. Can you believe that? The artist also did some interesting things with little sets, little stones. You see that little stone right there?
Oh.
Just to make them glisten in the dark and shine.
Oh.
Several have been removed, but a lot of them are still available around here. See, I don't know what that had going on.
And I see that he gets some racial
Absolutely.
They have differences in here too.
This is a military boy. You notice this here, the military belt here.
Yeah. Oh, I know that. Yeah. And the Crisco's cannons on its side. That's
Oh yeah,
funny.
completely used. And here's another nice scene in the bed. Those paintings were put on drywall, so we can remove them very easily. As you notice, they're at the top. They're put on with a piece of wood to hold them on the wall, so they come right off like a big painting. All the bathrooms, we put all this graffiti and all these little stains and stories and stuff.
Then you all put some in. It looks like some of the customers added a little too.
In some cases, customers add a few.
There's a great big pencil graffiti in one of the bathrooms. I think it's a bathroom.
Downstairs by the chicken office, he did it also.
Did that? I wonder. That's magnificent.
This is the truck stop restaurant for the Bulldog.
I see it's got some very appropriate bulldog country photographs. on the walls.
What do you think is in black and blue and silver color to accommodate that theme? Set cases of beer bottles around and things of that nature.
Explosives, keep out, restricted, reserved parking, private road, no parking.
And as you notice outside our truck stop, we put in this great big storefront, glassing storefront area. This is $1,100 just for that glass work there. We put another truck outside of there. And the lights are burning all the time, and it made it appear like as you sit in a restaurant here and look out through these glass windows in the front door of the restaurant that there was a big semi parked out there. And on each side of that truck are painted on the walls pictures of trucks that are sitting in the back parking lot that the drivers are here in the restaurant having some food there. Hard hat area going through there, and trespassers will be eaten. Interesting.
Bulldog.
Notice on the painting behind the truck here, these trucks that are parked here, and notice the action between the trucks in the parking lot. You see the silhouettes of bodies, and the shadows there, the people doing things. Truck drivers. There may be some females involved there. There are women truck drivers, you know.
Did customers also have sex in the
Yes,
truck?
yes, they love to sit there at the steering wheel and have sex. It just looks like a truck inside. And they love to sit in there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could really get off on having a scene in here. There's that movie Autoerotic. We could have truck erotic. Yeah. This is a lot roomier in the back seat of a car.
Oh, indeed, indeed. Okay. Right. Coming down this way, we had deluxe rooms, that's big size rooms, double beds, available for people.
Chair?
Yeah,
That's a neat chair
yeah,
there.
this had a sling in it, and the sling's in one of these rooms here, it's just loose right now. Okay. Another little drawing in chalk on the wall back there that someone's put on for us. Isn't that interesting? A local artist here who did that.
This has to be the most elaborate and realistic cell block that I've ever seen in my life. How did you come to put this here?
Well, this room wasn't even used in the previous bath operation. I think the owner had some kind of a little apartment or something back here that he used for himself. But we ripped everything out, started over, and we decided we wanted a double-story cell block here. And we wanted to incorporate all the features of a natural jail cell scene. Right to the point of having an open area bed where people would be sleeping in the center of the room. We put in cell blocks into private cells and cell bars that could be locked up with handcuffs, and you could lock your slave in the room and go away and come back later. We put steel beds in each of the rooms instead of bunks, as you notice. They all have steel beds and look like authentic cells.
Some of them even have toilets.
We put toilets in some of the cells to make them look like a real jail cell. And in fact, if you notice, the seats been removed because in real jails you don't have seats on them because they tear them up and use them to kill each other. Upstairs we have urinals in some of the cells. You notice we used steel beams, and then we painted them a gray color, and then we smeared all kind of stuff on them to make them look old and even dirty in some cases. You notice the stuff on the pipes. Those were brand new pipes when we started. The beams the same way up above. We did the same thing. Even going so far as painting cracks on the walls. You notice cracks on this wall to the left side when the stairs going up. And beams up above. Those have cracks all over. Painted on. We added a huge stainless steel urinal where people could stand there. 3 or 4 people could stand there and stand still urinal. There's a drawing right above it if you notice.
Oh, coming out of the cracks into a cock.
We also added a bathtub for whatever purpose it was used. This room had 2 large screen videos. You notice that above here, just like that. And we played 2 porno videos at the same time, different themes, different types, both going at the same time. And the advantage of it all, you could stand up here on the second level on this little catwalk here, look at people in the rooms behind you doing things. You could look down below, people laying on these beds doing things and watching the movies, and see everything going on in the room at the same time.
About how many people would you say at a maximum would you see in here?
We've well, parties, you couldn't get into the room. It was too full. In fact, we were fearful the place would fall down because it's a steel beam. But you know, even though we had a welder come in here and weld it up, if it was a little German welder out from Fulton Street, even though I'm sure he knows 8 people, if we had him come in here and weld up his cell block, he could not believe what he was doing. He was probably 60 years old. He couldn't believe he was making a jail cell. It would be interesting to watch him function. But normally, this was the main activity room. There were a lot of people in here all the time. This is where everybody came.
This would be the main orgy room?
This is the main orgy room. Absolutely.
Did any people talk about the motif, what they liked about it,
Well, they liked the authentic jail cell look that this projected, and most people thought it was very, very authentic. we painted drawings on the walls in there. As you know, there's two semis speeding down the road, and there's an Easy Rider on his motorcycle jerking off between the two trucks, speeding down between them.
It seems to be carrying out another real hyper-masculine theme.
The theme of trucks, leather, slave, and master scenes.
Weekend lockup.
Hunting men. Another thing. We have a mirror, and some of them, this mirror has come spots painted all that stuff basically all the time. And they look like that.
Yeah. Feeling of those earlier this year.
There's an interesting painting in this little bathroom on the side here too that you need to see. There's a window there that makes it look like you're looking out the window into another building nearby. And you see this gentleman over there with a very nice looking body. And that's on a piece of drywall. That can be framed.
Wow.
And look at what a good job it is.
Cock ring and everything.
And this is where a lot of the slaves were just handcuffed and kept for a long period of time. Notice the looking door. I had to crawl through to get in there. There's hooks for the wall. We use those for the slave auction. Handcuff people to that. And they stood there and the wax on the floor there where they poured wax all over the place.
Is that before sale or after?
During the sale, they were trying to make the slave look better. Good. So they wanted to show how much torture the slave could enjoy or accept or tolerate.
You know, Glenn, as we're talking, one thing I get a feeling, this is a world in itself. This is a world, a fantasy world, but a subculture. This is a place that has a lot of feeling, and it's not just the money. I mean, there's a lot of money put in here, but there's a lot of love and care and a lot of thought. And I'm wondering, I mean, obviously some of the things could be put somewhere else, but what is it like? What do you feel? It feels like a person or a child has kind of died here or something. What do you?
Well, it was a dream put together by several of us. Another concept in the bathhouse. We have other bathhouses in town, and a lot of them are very fine looking, very new and very different. And the other side of the bathhouse operations are those places that were not well maintained, but yet were the only places that were available for the gay people to go to. We thought that we could offer something close to that type of operation, give them a choice, and still have it look like a nice, clean operation, and offer something that was a fantasy house for them. And it did work that way. People did like coming. Customers enjoyed it.
When you're talking about a party with 800 people and nights when it was hard to even get in the room, what was the lifespan of the bath? It opened in...
This opened in '79 and we closed it in 1982, December of 1982. We opened in '79. The primary reason that we did close the bathhouse up, we do own the real estate too, is we had some disgruntled investors. There were 5 who owned it, and in fact 3 investors. And we were so upset with the whole problem of dealing with that and then the street scene, dealing with the people out in the street, that we felt that we just were no longer interested and decided to close it up and just sell the real estate. So that's what happened.
You've had, like you said, you've owned various bathhouses. How does it feel when one of them opens, one of them closes?
Well, to a lot of extent, when you build one, your own concept from start one to completion and open thing, that becomes pretty much part of it. You kind of hate to see it. Yeah. And quite possibly, maybe that's why we've kept it for a couple of years, just hanging on to it to see what would come up. Who knows, it may be a good time to open back up again with the bathhouses closing and gay people not having a choice of bathhouses to visit, and a nice place to go to. It may be another time to open, who knows.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
That you haven't said about anything connected?
What it's like to be in this part of the gay world, part of the world?
Well, there there are some responsibilities in connection with owning such an operation. And sometimes those responsibilities come down on you pretty hard. It's not been a good time in 1984 to be in a bathhouse business because of the AIDS crisis and because of the division in the gay community in reference to who's responsible for AIDS and where it's coming from. I take that pretty hard because there's so much unknown about AIDS, and because of that and the crisis that's been over the last 2 years, I'm glad that the place is closed. Because there's so many unknowns about AIDS that I don't know what contribution a place like this could have to it. And until I find out, I wouldn't want to rest. I wouldn't rest easy until I know for sure what is the situation. And when we have the facilities that the Department of Health condemns as unsafe, I think you should take a second look at what you're doing. I think it's time for caution. And that's the way I feel about it. It's not easy. And it's not nice. I would say 1984 is the worst time of my life, reference to my my involvement in the gay community. I was 40 years of age before I got involved in the gay community. I was married, I had 3 children. I have a grandson. And I got involved in this. It's been interesting, it's been fun, it's been exciting. This year has not been.
For any of us.
That's right.